We're going to look at simplifying expressions today. There are some properties that you need to know that you probably use all the time. These properties work for addition and multiplication only. The first one is the commutative property. It basically says that you can add or multiply numbers in any order. So we're going to put that out to the side. The commutative property deals with order. The second property is the associative property, which says that you can regroup, that when you're only adding or multiplying, you can group any of the numbers together that you want. So associative is grouping. You can see by these examples that 2 plus 7 is the same as 7 plus 2. You can change the order and it doesn't change the outcome. 3 times 9 is the same as 9 times 3. Whether you do this algebraically with variables or with just numbers doesn't make a difference. The associative property says you can change the grouping. So here you've got 6 plus 8 plus 2. You can group the 6 and the 8 together first and then add to the 2. Or you can group the 8 and the 2 together first and then add the 6. Okay, you could actually group the 6 and the 2 together and then add the 8. Okay, you need to know those two properties. So here's some examples. We use these almost without thinking. When I have three numbers multiplied together, I can pick any two of those numbers, multiply them together first, take that product times the third number. So the easiest way to do this would to rewrite this 1/3 times 33 times 5. Okay? So we can rewrite this using the commutative property. Then we can multiply the 1/3 times 33. So group those together. And that's going to give me 11. And then 11 times 5 is 55. Again, we use these without even thinking. Okay, in this case, it's all addition. So again, I look at those and say, oh, it would be so much easier if the 45 and the 55 could add together and the 16 and the 4. So I'm going to do that. All right, I'm going to use the commutative property to change the order that they're written in so that the 45 and the 55 are together and the 16 and the 4 are together. And then I'm going to use the associative property to group them together, and that's going to make it that much easier. Okay? Again, I'm going to use the commutative property to rewrite these so the fractions are next to each other. I will use the associative property to group them together, and then go ahead and finish the problem. Now, there's another property that's really very important, and that's the distributive property. And the distributive property always works with multiplication or division on the outside and addition or subtraction on the inside. Now, this one shows it with addition, all right, but it also works with subtraction. It's not multiplication or division inside the parentheses. This allows us to still continue the order of operations, but go out of order. In the order of operations, it tells you to do parentheses first. In this case, it allows us to distribute the multiplication before we add what's inside there. We use this a lot when we have a variable inside there and it's impossible to go ahead and simplify that. Here's some examples of how we can use the distributive property. 59. 59 is actually what? 60 minus 1. If I rewrite it like that and then multiply times 5, I can do mental math. This is 300 minus 5, and I'm doing the distributive property right here, okay, which is 295. Pause the video and do some of these. See what you can do, okay? So this one, I would go 8 times 30 plus 3, which is going to give you 240, plus 24, which is 264. See how easy that makes it? All right, this one would be 9 times 50 plus 2. That's 450 plus 18, which is 468. Okay? This one would be 12 times 100 minus 2. That's 1,200 minus 24, which is 1,176. Okay, see how this is? This is kind of neat, isn't it? So 7 times 30 plus 4 is 210 plus 28, which is 238. And for this last one, you could actually go either way. You could go 6 times 40 plus 5 if you're better with addition, or you could go 6 times 50 minus 5 if you prefer subtraction. Okay, so the top one would give you what? 240 plus 30. The bottom one would give you 300 minus 30. In either case, you get 270 for your answer. Okay? Terms of an expression are the parts that are added or subtracted. So you can see these are terms here, and terms are terms are separated by a plus or a minus. Like terms mean they have the same variables with the same powers. Constants are the numbers that don't have a variable, and constants are also like terms. Some vocabulary you need to know. Coefficient is the number in front of the variable. This is the variable. This is the coefficient. This is the variable. This is the coefficient. When you are combining like terms, you actually add or subtract the coefficient part. When they ask you to simplify these by adding like terms or combining like terms, I notice that these are both p's, so then I simply look at the coefficients. 72 minus 25 is 47. The p stays the same. Okay? Here, there's an understood 1 in front of that variable. So 3/4 x to the 4th plus 1x to the 4th is going to give me 7/4 x to the 4th, or 1 3/4 x to the 4th. Okay? Now, look at these two. This is an M. This is an N. They are not like terms. Therefore, I cannot put them together. Okay? All right. I'm going to do a little justification here. We're going to simplify this expression, which means do the distributive property, combine like terms, do whatever it is I can do to it and put it in as simple a form as possible. And I'm going to actually justify why we do these. So the first thing we're going to do is multiply the 4 times the 2, 4 times the x. We can do that because of the distributive property. Okay? That becomes 8 and a 4x because of multiplying. Then I'm going to use the commutative property to write the x's close together. I'm going to use the associative property to group them, and then I'm going to combine like terms. All right? Here's another one. Take your time, be neat. All right? So I'm going to do this. That's the distributive property. Multiplication allows me to rewrite that as 6x, and this is 24. Then I'm going to combine like terms right here, and I'm finished. Okay? Be extra, extra careful when you have subtraction signs and negative signs. So I'm going to put these two together. Remember, we can take subtraction and make it plus the opposite. So a negative 12x plus a negative 5x is a negative 17x, plus a positive 1x is a negative 16x. The a is not a like term, so it doesn't get to be added with it. That's it.